Welcome to today's video blog. We're going to talk about leadership in a very agile and cross-functional company that we are, from development to design to performance marketing. And next to me is David. He's our COO, and he will share some very valuable insights for you about leadership. Thanks, David.
Yeah, thanks, Raphael.
So, what is if you would nail it down to 3 or 4 core principles, how you lead the operations?
Yeah, firstly, I believe that very clear communication is key. That would be my first principle. Secondly, you need to have very smooth processes and task management. So that would be the second. Third is always having an obsessive focus on quality. So things can always be good, but it's never good enough. You should always strive to have better. You can always improve anything.
Yeah.
The fourth would be a data-driven approach. So being a performance marketing company, primarily, we need to ensure that we are constantly measuring the data from our media buying and also from our creative departments. We need to ensure that the creatives are very high quality and that they have high conversion rates. And we do this internally by testing. And lastly, fifth, I would nail down coaching. So constant skills development, coaching, ensuring that our staff are constantly learning. In our environment, things are always changing, and an additional skill to have is also unlearning. So some things which we learned a year ago might not be relevant today. So learning, unlearning, and that whole duality. So those are the 5.
I just recently read a post on LinkedIn about that whole topic of unlearning in performance marketing, which is very, very true. Things that a year ago mustn't be true anymore.
Yeah.
So your core one was communication and goal setting. How is that visible in the day-to-day operations?
Yeah, I mean the way that it's being run here at R17 is every morning we will stand up next to a board, every single staff member at the company, and we do a goal setting exercise. So every single staff member will list their single most important goal for that day. And this really helps to give some direction and focus to every staff member for that day, as well as allow every staff member to see who is doing what, so that each department knows what is happening on a day-to-day basis. It's a very agile process, and it really just helps to ensure that our projects run smoothly.
Yeah, I see that. And how do you ensure that, obviously day-to-day goal setting is very agile, right? How do you ensure that everyone is still aligned with the, let's say, big picture or a bit long-term goals?
We will constantly ensure that these long-term goals are revisited. So we do use Trello as a software tool, and here we will have the longer-term goals. So we've got weekly goals that are listed on the Trello, as well as monthly, and it's my job to keep track of these goals and ensure on the day-to-day that the goals are being worked towards. Hand in hand with Trello, we are also using Toggle, which is a time tracking software. Very, very useful. It's not really for micromanaging and seeing how much time someone is spending on their day, but rather to analyze how much time is being spent on individual projects, as well as how much time is spent per client. I want to ensure that every client is receiving their due share of time. That's very important.
Yeah, ultimately, if you bring it down in performance marketing, you have 2 variables, right? Number 1 is performance, but that's measured through real-time dashboards directly from ad managers and Shopify and so on. And the second is actually time you invest, right? So to really keep focus on these 2.
100%.
So, as a conclusion, we could say being very focused on reaching goals has a lot of advantages in transparency, right? So everyone knows constantly what's going on, and it gives everyone guidance. I know it from my personal way of working is like in the morning, usually I nail down the goals, what should happen that day, and just it gives you structure, gives you clarity, things don't get missed, and I think that's an approach we are very focused at R17 to execute. Then you mentioned data-driven approach. Can you go a bit into that?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're in the game of performance marketing, so measuring results and constantly analyzing and optimizing is, that's what we do. However, we believe very much in a constant testing approach, and this is the only way to constantly improve on performance, is testing new things, killing stuff that doesn't work, and then keeping and obviously scaling things that do work. So for our creative assets, for example, we run testing campaigns on our social channels, where we will measure things like click-through rate and even optimization events like add to carts or purchases to distinguish which assets are better and which ones don't really work. So this is how we measure our creative success. And then obviously in the media buying, we need to constantly measure various variables on social and SEM.
I think we even have this competition going in the creative department, right? That so it's kind of a competition between designers, and whoever wins gets 1 day off a month. Is that correct? Yeah.
So I mean, this happens every month, and it's we try to make it fun, and so each creative strategist will have their own campaign on Facebook, and they create a few assets, and the asset that gets the highest engagement and click-through rates, they will be considered the winner. And I think in our last one, it was our videographer, JP, that
who was just sitting next to us
behind the camera.
True. Awesome. If in a conclusion, the top 5 points for our audience, how to kind of lead in that very dynamic environment, maybe one can take something out, what would that be?
So I think it's very important to have a positive and optimistic workforce. People need to get up and be excited about working. So we try to create a very positive atmosphere at the company. We like to encourage our staff to do self-development, upskill. More than half of our staff are enrolled in various courses, whether it be in media buying or design or even development. So constant upskilling, constant willingness to learn. And along with that, from my end comes coaching. So guidance, coaching, and ensuring that everyone is happy and everyone is motivated to be the best version of themselves in that work. Yeah,
I mean, it's actually the only way, if you have an environment that is constantly changing and quite on a quick pace. I mean, like a couple of weeks ago, there was this Performance Max campaign rolled out in the beta phase for Google, which very much changed the game, right? So it's all about being constantly on the ball and learning. Otherwise, you will lose track of newest trends and of performance ultimately, which is what we deliver.
And I think something that we do quite well here is that various individuals have their core strengths. So some are really strong at Google, others are really strong at Clayview, and these individuals will then share their knowledge, learnings, and even proactiveness in finding things like the Performance Max. I mean, as soon as it was rolled out, our head of SEM, Lorenzo, was showing everyone how to set up the campaign, and I mean, we've had excellent results for many of our clients with that Performance Max.
Awesome. I think that's a good finish. Thank you so much, David.
Yeah, thank you, Raphael.